Hello, my name is AJ Fuga. In the likelihood you don't know who I am, I'm a cosplayer and artist who's been working on cosplay since 2018. I like taking creative liberties with my cosplay in the form of adding details and making redesigns to tell stories through my costumes. As of late, I've been making many costumes from the YouTube animated show and book series Epithet Erased. I've wanted to cosplay Zora since Epithet Erased came out, but I was always apprehensive due to how large and detailed her outfit is, especially when compared to other characters. After making my absolute beast of a Naven outfit this summer, I decided I was ready to tackle the stink cowboy herself. Starting off, one of the first things I did for my Zora cosplay is figure out what fabrics I wanted. When it comes time to choosing fabric, I like turning to my fabric book. A lot of fabric suppliers sell swatches. It's incredibly helpful for choosing fiber, amount of stretch, and many other factors that go into choosing fabric. Being able to feel the fabric and see how it moves makes such a difference. I knew early on I wanted to hand dye the entire outfit, so I decided I wanted to work with cotton. So here's the dye, the fabric, and now let's get to work. The first step to any build is patterning. I like to lay some masking tape along any major landmarks in my dress form, such as arms, where I want edges of the garment to be, and seam lines. I also like to go in with an electric measuring tool to make sure everything is nice and even. I trace the tape onto pattern paper and then clean it up using straight and curved rulers. I also add notes and seam allowance to make sure everything continues to fit perfectly. With all that out of the way, I trace and cut it into the final fabric. Since I decided to dye this, I'm going to be dyeing it after I finish cutting. I do the same thing for the poncho. And of course, you can't forget tracing this onto the final fabric too. And the insanity hasn't even started yet. After a few hours of work, I got both the poncho along with all the tassels cut out and ready for the next step. I decided I wanted to give Zora the yellow square scarf that her portrait has, but plain yellow stripes were too simple for my taste. Using some dye resist, otherwise known as gold Gouda, I drew a sunflower and leaf design. And a little real time for scale. I let everything soak in a mix of soda ash and warm water. I decided I wanted to bucket dye the majority of this outfit. Bucket dyeing is nice because all you have to do is put the fabric in the bucket with the dye and water. For details like the yellow trim, I decided to ice dye them, which is the same way I dyed the green stripes on my Naven pants. The lining of the poncho was shaving foam dyed. Shaving foam is put on top of warm water and then a bunch of different colors of dye is mixed in. I thought this would be a cool reference to Epithet Erased cowboy history as dye miners. After everything has time to set and dry, I rinse it out with cold water. Rinsing it helps get rid of any extra dye and makes sure that nothing bleeds or fades over time. After everything is thoroughly rinsed, I hang it up to dry a second time. Once everything is done drying and has gone through the washer and dryer, I iron it to remove the wrinkles along with detangling and removing any loose threads. While it will be far too time consuming to show the process for the entire outfit, everything from the pants to the pouches to the shirt and the scarf, every bit of fabric in this outfit is hand dyed. Fabric all ready to go and dyed, it's time to sew everything together. I go through and zigzag stitch any edges that are going to be visible so that the fabric won't fray over time. First step to sewing is pinning the fabric together. This makes sure nothing will slip out of place and allows me to line up corners. This way I can make sure everything will lay flat and look as clean as possible. I like putting my pins perpendicular to the direction I'm going to be sewing, so I don't have to worry about pins getting stuck in my machine. I find it also makes them a lot easier to take out of the fabric quickly. Call me old-fashioned, but I love sewing books. My personal favorite is this one, The Dressmaker's Technique Bible by Lorena Knight. For this project, I decided I wanted to sew Zora's shirt with a French seam. While French seams need a bit more seam allowance, they give a piece of really nice seam both inside and out, without the need for lining, and are pretty easy to do. My sewing machine is a hybrid, meaning I can pull off the table and convert it from a sewing machine into an embroidery machine. I decided I wanted to give Zora more flower motifs, so I went ahead and made a sunflower design to embroider into the lining of her poncho. Theoretically, embroidery machine is faster and way more convenient than hand embroidery. Regardless, this took me a while to get the lining done. Because my insanity knows no bounds, I wanted to add some hand embroidery into the mix. I dyed and sewed some sunset-themed cotton strips into the sleeves and drew sunflower motifs with heat-sensitive pen. I really like using heat-sensitive pens for embroidery. The iron is hot enough to erase all the marks, and unlike fading markers, I don't have to worry about it fading while I work. I have some issues embroidering with cotton, and since I was low on black silk embroidery floss, I decided to dye some myself. I find silk is one of the easiest fibers to dye. First, I pour some white vinegar in warm water into a cup. Throw the silk in and let it sit for 30 minutes. Add the dye and set at 200 Fahrenheit for around 30 more minutes. Rinse and let dry. We're now ready to embroider. I find I like the look of hand embroidery much more than machine embroidery. I think it looks much softer and has a much more thoughtful appearance to it. The sunflowers are done in a fake satin stitch. The leaves are done with a simple lazy daisy. The giant sun on the front of Zora's poncho, I ran some yellow to red and white to yellow photochromatic iron-on vinyl through my Cricut. I also did this for the suns on the shirt pockets. Then, iron it onto my now sewn together poncho. While I don't usually focus on it, I love 3D modeling. Jello advised me that his gauntlets are meant to be solid and contain bullets. So after a lot of work, I modeled them in Maya before completely redoing them in ZBrush. My beloved. I had to spend a while planning how I wanted to add the bullets into her gauntlets. I wanted them to both be visible and fit her overall outfit. Since I printed with PLA, when it comes time to remove layer lines for prints, I used a mixture of acetone and Bondo spot filler and painted it on. If you do this, please wear a respirator and gloves and make sure to do this in a well-ventilated space. I prime and paint everything with a base coat of spray paint and wait for it to be completely dry. Then, I go in with red spray paint. Before it has a chance to dry, I rub it away with a sponge to give it a worn and weathered look. With the base done, I go through and add some gold paint in to make sure the gauntlets really pop. Next up are Zora's guns. I start off in Maya and make a basic hard surface blockout using a reference image to guide me. With the hard surface done, I go into ZBrush, polish everything up, add any small details, and remove unwanted hard edges with some digital sculpting. Same as with the gauntlets, I printed out with PLA, acetone Bondo, primer paint. I decided to make the belt solely in ZBrush because of its much simpler base shape. ZBrush hard surface tools are more than enough to get by. Instead, I decided to print this on the resin printer so I don't have to worry about layer lines. I made Zora's hat out of EVA foam. I'm using a heat gun here both to shape the foam along with closing the pores. This way the paint will sit on the surface much more cleanly and the foam won't absorb the paint. I decided to make the zigzag on Zora's hat using the bead loom for added texture and shine of the beads. Using some lamp working, I made some extra glass beads that I sewed into the side of the hat. With everything done, it's time to do makeup. I don't feel particularly qualified to explain makeup, but it's a step I find enjoyment in nonetheless. Thank you so much for watching. I'd love to give a huge thanks to Whoops for the soundtrack and Jello for creating such an amazing show along with helping out with this outfit. This outfit really wouldn't have been the same without all the help. It's always so much fun cosplaying from Epithet Erased. There was so much footage I couldn't keep for the sake of time, so if you have any questions or there's anything you'd like to see more of, please let me know. And of course, I'd also love taking costume suggestions, so if there's any characters you'd like to see me cosplay, please do tell me. And with all that out of the way, I think I'm gonna go take a nap now. Hey, AJ. Fabric. Get to work.